Not trying to get a copyright strike. Hi, hello. So I have another iced coffee with espresso in it. So you know what that means. It means like my head is ready to hit the pillow. Honestly, I thought I would have had a little bit more energy, but it's fine. Now I saw the box for the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards, and I really wanted to use them. But they weren't in the box. But the book, the book is in the box. Aloneness. Interesting. I have the Osho's and Tarot, the Archeo archetypes, and the book from the Mystical Shaman Oracle, as long as a virtual assistant who can give me a random number between 1 and 64, because that's what we're going to have to do today. Um, yeah. I didn't expect to see aloneness. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Who's at the? Let's split it. And silence. This is the Hermit and the Moon. 9 and 18. Again, that Pisces Virgo. Maybe it's because of the nodal shift coming up. This aloneness is almost giving, maybe it's a polarity between aloneness and all oneness. Because if we look, that's like the third eye of this sky being, and this person is like sitting right next to it, but it's like silence. So it's whether or not, almost like whether or not this exchange can happen in silence. Without spoken word, are we able to connect more deeply? Almost in the way of sharing presence. And then the dream is here, which is interesting because, like, there's this person, and then those two, like, ghost people. And so maybe the dream or like astral communication would be one way of communicating through silence. There's no protection today. We should be good, but if not, it's like if you don't hear something come, this is like the space I've been in for the past month or so, where it's just like, I don't know, like if I don't say whatever, then it's not me. So if there's someone in the background that's doing whatever, if there's someone, because I don't do subscribers only, at least for now, like, and someone comes and says something crazy, it's like, well, that's them. It's not me. So, you know what I mean? Anyway, um, I had a dream last night. I had multiple dreams last night. I'm waking up like at least once every hour and a half, and it is rough. But your boy's hydrated, too hydrated. But every time I go back to sleep, it's a different dream. So I've been having a lot of dreams. And I had one. There was like a goose in the backyard or something. I was going to visit a friend. I don't know how I ended up there, but I did. And they were calling about a goose in the backyard. They're like, it's a goose in the backyard and it's a problem. And I was like, why is it a problem? And it was something about, it was, I guess, weird. About like magic that's in the blood. And so, like, for vampires or werewolves or whatever, like when they get the blood or when they taste someone's blood, they get their magic. And I guess like geese have teeth. So it's like if the goose bites somebody, then there's going to be a magical goose on the loose. And imagine the chaos of a magical goose on the loose. Hey, Kirsty, how you doing? I was just thinking about, yes. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I was like, okay, I guess. I was like, okay, sure, magical goose. Mother Goose was magical, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I'm supposed to be trying to keep this shorter, but I've already been rambling. And this, like, yeah, if you're emotion sensitive, maybe listen. But I also miss call cards sometimes when I'm in it. So. All right. We have the dream and who was this? Metamorph. Yeah. Right. The dream and metamorph. This is such an interesting because even in the dream it was like, oh well, there's two cards. The dream and creativity. But in the dream, it was like she becomes this person that can communicate with that person through the silence or whatever. Interesting. All right. I'm going to ask Google for a number and then I'll find that number in the book because I don't have the cards. Maybe I'll read it. Sure, why not? Since I have to use the book. All right, and we'll do our best. I do have a call to prepare for. Hey Google, pick a random number between 1 and 64, please. Can you tell me the number? Well, like you made the noise, like. Are you still here? Let's see. The silent number is 40. I didn't even know it does all that when it picks a random number. I guess that's interesting because of the silence. But it's like it made the noise that I was getting the number, but it couldn't say what the number was. So weird. That's 39. 39 is the owl. 40 is Pachamama. That's why it was silent. There's the earth, which is the earth, and then Pachamama, that's like Gaia. The essence. Pachamama represents the unconditional love that the earth has for all her children, including the stones, the plants, the animals, and humans. She is the goddess of earth, also known as Gaia, who pervades all creation in our planet. Thanks to Pachamama, our timeless soul can experience life in a biological body. The joy and pain we taste during our brief time on earth are invitations to discover the boundless love of Pachamama. The invitation. You are a child of earth. Now is the time to eat right, love right. Okay, yeah, I'm over it. I'm sorry. Even the essence, I'm like, this is a little bit hard to get through. For me, I think it's the energy of the consciousness behind the thing. And I feel like a lot of times it's almost like we anticipate. Maybe anticipate isn't the right word. It's like sometimes it's like using context to hold a conversation, or it's like holding a conversation with context and with tellings and retellings and with assumptions and known whatever rather than the energy itself. Maybe in lieu of the silence. But there's an ability to like it's possible to hold a conversation or to find a space of meeting that allows for like authentic communication, you could say. And it's not the stories or the myths or the legends or different assumptions or what somebody said. It's like the energy, right? And it happens, I guess, in that silence. Also, there's the face, right, that's coming to the surface. So Pachamama would be the face of Gaia, like actual Gaia, and not just like whatever. Anyway, let's try this one more time. Hey Google, choose a random number between 1 and 64. Can you not tell me what the number is? 47. Wasn't 40 red? 40 was red. 47 is green. The reason why I'm still going is because I wasn't necessarily taking aloneness / all oneness in silence with the metamorph in the dream. So I was like, that was for that, and this is for whatever. So 47 is the smoky mirror. The smoky mirror represents the aspects of what is implied, yet cannot be immediately known in the world. The mystery of how things come together and how they fall apart without obvious causality. The symbol also represents the shadow of the human psyche, the parts of the self that one disowns. The smoky mirror can also represent a state of denial or the inability or refusal to see truth. When the symbol of the smoky mirror appears, you're invited to see beyond your own self. Acknowledge that, past the limits of your current ability to perceive, there is a vast interconnected world where events are orchestrated in divine order, but challenging to fully grasp. Now is the time to trust that no matter what the current conditions of your world reflect, in the hidden realms, all aspects of the human journey are celebrated: the beauty and the darkness, the misery and the courage. No matter where you are on your journey, know that some things are meant to be a mystery, which you are meant to understand only through experience. Take heart, for the smoky mirror will ultimately show you beauty and wonder once the fog lifts the distortion you see now. Understanding the shadow of the human journey requires that you go deep into your story to discover the wound that prevents you from seeing the truth of your current situation. Your fears and expectations of disappointment and unworthiness may be clouding your capacity to see the potential in yourself and others. The smoky mirror may be showing you things you don't want as a result of your conditioning. These can become even more real, but only because you are making it so. The choice is yours. The world will hold you accountable for what you see and create. Can you see through the eyes of truth and faith instead? And here's the grayscale image of the smoky mirror. We've seen glass, we've seen silver. If you don't polish the glass, it'll tarnish into that smoky mirror. A lot of this stuff has been like, again, I've been going like basically like every day. What's going to be here today that wasn't here tomorrow? Well, we're creeping up on a full moon in Aries. I wanted to say Taurus for some reason. Already skipping to, well, I guess Scorpio was like literally right around the corner. All right, so with the smoky mirror, we have an archeo of the poet, which is interesting because we've also been seeing the poet in the wild unknown archetypes. And the bottom of the deck is the magician. The poet and the magician, it makes me think of magic and I guess in the Norse mythological sphere, in the Norse mythosphere. And I don't remember, I don't even know if I have the Yggdrasil. I think the Yggdrasil divination cards are packed away, which would have been in that, I think, third drawer. I don't know how I decided which cards to put in a box and which cards to like take out of this. And like, I feel like I've switched cards. Anyway. But it talked about, even the smoky mirror talked about us being responsible for our creations. Right? The world will hold you accountable for what you see and create. The poet and the magician is like this wordsmithery where words become things. Words are spells. But there was the ability to like weave words together. Again, it had to be on Cavassier. But I don't think it was Cavassier. I think it was starts with a B. I don't remember his name. Associated with like poetry and stuff. I know in was it the Almighty Johnsons or something like that? He was the one that ended up with Idun. The was like starts with the B. Norse god B Bragi. That's what it was. It was Bragi. God of poetry, music, ceremony, and skalds. Um, there's a Bragonian energy. I don't know anything more about Bragi, but excuse me, the magician. This hand almost reminds me of the hand of Cocabio, Angel of Stars. I think that part of the video got dropped. So I posted the picture on the community page of the cards that were on the table. I had literally like pulled all the cards and was just getting into them when the live stream ended, but the video had ended like 20 some minutes prior. Um, but the hand of Cacavio is the same as the moon in the Notoria. Like the angel that's like pop. I think it's in the Notoria. The angel that's like popping out of the portal, popping out the portal, and she acting brand new. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna just go to the image because that's easier. So in Cacabio, there's this hand that comes out of up out of the ring with all the sparkly lights around it. It's giving me the energy of like that hand. It's almost like it was a while ago. There was the light and the dark. It was before the separation of yin and yang. How there are dark spaces that only permit darkness, and there are light spaces that only permit light. So for us to enter those spaces, we have to reconfigure ourselves in a way that on the external, on the side that interacts and faces the environment, it conforms, but we hold the rest of ourselves internally, so we don't lose ourselves in the process of entering one place or the other. Um, but it was like there are things, if you want to create in the void, then you shroud yourself in darkness. You go into the void, and then it was like you almost find those things and you touch them with your light. And then as you brighten up and as the void ejects you because you are light in a space where only darkness can exist, if you have that light tether, you can like bring those things with you when you get ejected. Now, the light tether part, that's like new. It didn't necessarily go that far. Because at first, when it came through, it was more so spiritual coin versus physical pinnacle. Spiritual coins we get from completing whatever divine lessons. Physical pinnacles are like money or devil currency. With our spiritual coins, there's a currency exchange. So after it was that, it was increasing the value of our spiritual coins so we can get more physical pinnacle per coin exchanged. But it was like there was a not a gift shop, but like a prize shop Like if you go to an arcade or anywhere where you get tickets that you exchange for prizes, tickets are like the spiritual coins, and you can take them to the counter and exchange them for something. This is in the realm of light, but it's like all light. In the realm of light, it was like prize exchange. You're exchanging physical or spiritual coins for these prizes. On the dark, it was almost like that grocery store where you sort of like go in and you find what you need. But again, like the part of being ejected that just came through here, um, with the tethering of the light. Anyway, was that loud? Sorry. This it's good, but it's not as refreshing. I don't know if it's the espresso or what. Okay. Abundance. Okay, cute. Love it. Especially when we're talking about exchanging coins and pinnacles. But you can see almost like the representation of the sun and the moon. Or it's this like yin yang. So it's the what yin sphere in the middle with the surrounding it. So if you extrapolate this border to like a ring around too far, a ring here, and then on the other side is like the yang with this here, and then this abundance that sits in between, abundant because of its ability to sort of like transit one and the other. Bottom of the deck is sorrow. Again, this is such a, I feel like dichotomy. Is that the word? I'm pretty sure that's the word I want. I don't know why dichotomy feels like it's shaping up to be so characteristic of the Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node. Um, hey Google, define dichotomy.
Here's the definition of dichotomy: a division or contrast between two things that are represented as being opposed or entirely different.
Yeah, it's that dichotomy. I was pretty sure that's the word I wanted. Hey Google, pick a random number between 1 and 64, please. And still it doesn't say. Oh, 47 again, and it's still green. LOL. LOL. Yep, we're still in the smoky mirror. Cool. I still don't. I feel like Google usually says the number. There's this dichotomy between sorrow and abundance, and it feels like because of what this energy specifically today is coming out as, it's because in sorrow, it's not able to separate the black from the white, the yin from the yang. Because you see how it's all like, it's dark towards the center and lighter on the outside. It's all like muddled. There's no clear separation like there is in abundance. And again, it's because of abundance that it can enter the prize shop or it can go into the grocery store and just get like the grocery store again. You go into the void, you find what you need or you want, and you get ejected. When you go to the prize shop, it's almost like things that are already completed, pre-assembled. The void is IKEA, where you got to build your own furniture. It comes with instructions. Um, and the light is wherever you get pre-assembled furniture. The dream is under that sorrow again. I think the poet is just like this creative mind. There's a creativity of the poet that's almost like a chef. It's almost like the whole process is Skip Me Chef. You have the recipe, you have your pantry, and then you have the grocery store. And let's say you're making like a meal, so there are multiple dishes. Some of them you may get pre-cooked. right? You may just go and pick up a pasta salad, but you want to make the pizza. Um, I don't know, there's something about the poet that's able to almost like expertly navigate these spaces and just to know and like it's the artisticness of the poet that can envision something and accurately, more or less accurately translate it to like real life. The dream is at the bottom of the deck. I can't get the dream off the bottom. And Thunderbolt. Oh snap. Thunderstruck. Oof. I wonder. Excuse me. There's something else coming in with sorrow too, where it's something about the ability to receive. It's like whatever this person is manifesting or assembling, it doesn't fit through this gap. So maybe this is, I feel like that would, if we're in the metaphor of IKEA versus pre-assembled furniture, the only way to get whatever this person is wanting is from the void. The easiest way is to get it from the void in the background and assemble it on this side. Because if it comes pre-assembled, it's like it's too big for the gap. So it's like understanding the things, the manifestations that must be built rather than the ones that come in all at once. And they could need to be built for multiple reasons. Maybe it's where it's like the status of our own belief, right? Like, let's say we're manifesting low hanging fruit, $1 million. We're manifesting $1 million, but we can't receive $1 million because of our limiting beliefs or whatever. But we can receive, like, we can't receive $1 million lump sum all in one because of the limitations of our beliefs. But we can break up that amount and maybe we get a job, maybe we get blessed, or we receive something, maybe we win the lottery. It's like there are all of these other, there are these multiple venues and passageways that are open for us to cumulatively receive that million. Because when we break it down into smaller pieces, it's not like it's something that we can receive. It doesn't overburden our receiving capacitors or whatever, receptive capacitance. It could also be something like that. Again, the void is here. We saw the void key yesterday with the person that had the glitch reader, right? So if you play video games, especially old games, new games don't do it like they used to. There's like an infinite money glitch. And if you have the void rod, you can like use the glitch reader to find the infinite money glitch, and then if you're in the infinite money glitch, you're ready to receive an unbounded sum of money. If it is about money, money is the metaphor, but I guess for some people it could be money. Um, it's like that. But again, that's like through the void. There's something about the void, and I mean, even in the dynasty, and when you see the Kabbalah tree of life in the SKT, the void isn't empty. But there's something about it, especially recently, where it's coming out as like this resource that can be used, but the void is dark. So if we got any like shadow or darkness, or if there's any part of our light that is in opposition to darkness, and that's not like in opposition to evil, it's like in opposition to darkness specifically. Because again, to like enter those spaces, you have to sort of like blend in. right? It's almost like when there's like the little fish and there's like the shark that's swimming through the little fish, and the little fish are like maintaining that radius because they don't want to get eaten. Next is the next card that fell out is postponement, which is interesting because that's almost oh, it is contra naturam with the glass, but this is the opposite way of how we saw it. Um, in the contra naturam card, it was a black square with a whole bunch of color around it. But here, it's this grayscale on the outside, but through the glass. So contra naturam, we see things in full color. Now, it's interesting that so postponement is here, and the bottom of the deck is consciousness. Under consciousness is maturity. This is like a Kuan Yin card for me in this deck. She just came out that way. She came out in this card, and because she appeared in this card like 2 or 3 times, she forever holds that significance, I guess. But here's like this circular frame instead of the square frame. Ripeness is under maturity. Um, I feel like the eyes of consciousness, they're correct. Are they opening or are they closing? But you see how the eyes are kind of like barely open? Sorry. Ooh, just a little personal synchronicity. Um, and then you see on the third eye up there, this is what was in the distance in the card of silence. It's this maturing or mature consciousness. Now, what's interesting is this is very similar to the smoky mirror. Okay, it's relatively similar to the smoky mirror. I need to cut my nails, I know. But there's no distortion in this mature consciousness. Also, in the real smoky mirror card, there is color. This is not a black and white image. So again, it makes me think of this postponement, how the world outside the glass is grayscale, but within the glass you see it in full color. So maybe it's postponed until I go and get the cards out of storage. I'm just kidding. That's not how this works. But it's, if I had to guess, it's almost like it's waiting for an opening. So if that glass, if the proportions of glass aren't fixed, it's almost like expanding. And in postponement, it depends on what the person wants. If someone just wants to grab something from the other side, I think that's enough space to do so. But especially with this maturity, the difference isn't like black and white versus color because there's color here. Take the what's the difference between what's enclosed and what isn't. Also, this ring makes me think of completion in the mystical shaman oracle cards because I'm pretty sure Is that an Ouroboros? It is. Look, it's an Ouroboros. Ouroborosai, to me, especially because of the threads of fate, it's where we have our ego in check. Because you see the Ouroboros on the Sovereign of Wands and in the Wheel of Fortune. Basically, like, we have our ego in check to the point where we don't need to kill it for it to behave. Um, but it's just like, again, like, we're not going to be, especially for the King of Wands, to not be ruled by his own desire or passion. Um, it's a maturity. I think it's number 10, but I may be wrong. Yeah, 10 is the corn. And it's not going to be in full color anyway. Is it A10? Completion is number 9. If only I would have went back one more page instead of just flipping to the table of contents. I could have saved myself a little bit of time. So this is completion in the mystical shaman oracle cards. Just imagine it with like color. Consciousness and maturity. Oh, it's already been 36 minutes. I'm trying. I just want to see if I can, you know? But it doesn't feel complete, so we're going to get one more. I want to get one final card. Abundance, postponement. Yeah, so I don't know if I've finished talking about it. It feels like in postponement, because of maturity, this individual is waiting for the portal to be big enough for them to step through. Rather than just like, oh, it's big enough for me to grab this or grab that or whatever. Like, that's what it feels like. Someone maybe postponing their own abundance for the sake of assuming something greater, for the maturation of some consciousness, for the smoky mirror to be a little more clear. All right, final card. I do want to read the tale of the magician. Maybe I'll read the tale of the magician and the poet. Am I reading them first? No. Guess what just flipped over? No thingness. That void. Bottom of the deck is awareness. See, this is almost that, like, even amidst suffering, there's some kind of awareness that we reach. Like the shadow cast is one of someone like, oh no. But there's this like peaceful awareness in the midst of it. Two cards actually came out. Ooh, I love this combination. No thingness and beyond illusion. Now, what's interesting is this is the 25, the XXV of silver, the alchemy of silver that keeps coming out. That is like polishing something, polishing the mirror to make it more clear. There's also in the energy oracle cards. I might have the deck. 1 second. It's the magician in the mirror. It should be up here. Up there, right here. Let's go. Well, there is such a thing as providence. Okay, for today. There is such a thing as providence. It's fine. And so, as this deck is, I'm going to pull before and after the magician in the mirror. Um, but there's this beyond the illusion is no thingness in the 25, but the no thingness is also an illusion because the no thingness contains all things. And it was interesting, like we started on the dichotomy of aloneness or all oneness. And I guess no thingness in itself, no thingness or nothingness. Interesting. And then, yeah, awareness. So this is definitely a maturing consciousness. Under awareness is courage and completion. And then rebirth. Awareness, courage, completion, and rebirth. It's like all four of these. We come into an awareness, we gather the courage to allow something to complete, and then we are reborn. And that's again something beyond the illusion of no thingness. So this postponement is actually, it's almost like when you put, I guess it's like stocks and bonds, more so stocks. You put money into something, it plays the market, or the market plays the stock, it plays life, life plays it, and the value increases and decreases. And this postponement, it's keeping an investment regardless of the fluctuations on the market until it hits whatever and you pull it out. But if there's like a dip, sometimes if there's a dip, a lot of people will like pull their money out because, to minimize their losses or whatever. But there is a deeper play here. Even between, to go from sorrow to awareness before we take the elevator, the ladder, before we take the ladder or the chute of awareness, because it's like the top of this 4 card chain, with how I put it on the table. The top of this 4 card chain is awareness. Starts in awareness, it ends in rebirth. But it's like, again, there's this agony, this fear, this pain, this whatever, but this beautiful awareness that comes onto the scene. That's because from sorrow, there's been a maturation of consciousness. So that awareness can blossom. And it's because someone's consciousness is maturing that they can be in the waiting of postponement, that they can allow for their money to continue to, they can allow for their investment to be, again, regardless of the fluctuations in the market, where other people might pull out. So the card of guidance fell onto the floor to reveal adventure. Under adventure is innocence. But with guidance on the floor, there, it's making me think of Perth and the scent of that pear tree, of the thing opening the clearing in the middle of the forest. It was like there is no guide to get to this space or to this point. Any of the guidance in the forest is to get people out of the forest. There comes a moment where we reach a certain point in our journey that we ditch the guidance of exiting the forest and we find this thing that wasn't there 4 days ago. It was 4 days, and it was a lot of fours. It was like four something, 4 days, four whatever. Where that one thing was, I forget what it is. I'm not gonna grab it. but it was like Marble or something. The gifter or something. It's like where this illusion of no thingness breaks. Or it's not. Because again, like no thingness is both an illusion and not an illusion. Or there's an illusion that exists behind the illusion. Because in no thingness is everything. So that's the illusion of no thingness. But it's not everything necessarily in a form that is immediately available. It's almost like imagine if no thingness is a soup of protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? And you have the periodic table, which is the periodic table of elements. Different combinations of protons, neutrons, and electrons will give you different elements. If you want gold, it had an atomic number of like 97, maybe. My science is rusty, but I'm pretty sure the atomic number is the number of protons, which should also be in a balanced atom, the number of electrons. But it's not just about balancing the protons with electrons because you have valence shells. And it's like you want the outer shell to be full of electrons. So whether you have to gain additional electrons to for the outer shell to be full, to have an overall negative charge on that atom, or whether you lose electrons to have a full outer shell and you drop down a level and have an overall positive charge on that atom. There are multiple things to be balanced. And I did say this deck as it is. The Garden and the Gate and Adjacent Possibilities were the last final cards. Also, there was something else I wanted to say. Yeah, so the nothingness, again, like that's why the things that come from the void have to be assembled. It's like you go into the void and you pull out a bunch of protons, neutrons, and electrons. If you just have that, it's like, okay, what do I do with all this hydrogen and free radicals? Just like loose electrons. Just like, what do we do with this? You got to put it together. Anyway, let's look. Goddess of the Moon is at the bottom of the deck, which is all about your intuition. Cool. The Magician and the Mirror. No, that's Healer of the Ages. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but it's fine. It's almost like Top Chef. Is that the name of the show? The Magician and the Mirror. Oof. Well, I love this. I'm glad I didn't shuffle this deck. It's about providence. I said that. What's meant to be will be. I don't have to shuffle the deck. So, The Magician and the Mirror, which is 53, one after the Goddess of the Moon. So, after our intuition or intuitive whatever, it's how we use it. Which is that was that Top Chef energy when I was feeling like it's almost like Top Chef, where in the absence of guidance, oh, in the absence of instruction and obstruction, it's almost like what do you do with the energy? Which again, it is a shade, a tint, a hue of the natural affinity, more so the innate ability. It's a shade, tint, and hue of the innate ability from yesterday of like again like without guidance, without instruction or obstruction, how do you use these energies? What are you doing? Right? Because for however things are moving in whatever metaphorical way, um it's a whole thing. So the Magician in the Mirror, before the Magician in the Mirror was 7th chakra archangel Uriel, which is the crown chakra. Before it is number 22, yin and yang. And that's why I was like, it's the providence. Because again, this is that yin and yang separation and how we can sort of navigate that. For those of y'all who have been here for a minute, and I'm assuming that's the upper majority of y'all know about the whole, because like there was a whole cycle process to this, where it was like the separation of yin and yang, the envelopment of the yang and the yin, or the yin and the yang to enter a purely yin space or a purely yang space and not disturb that space. And we don't sacrifice or abandon our yin or yang because then we and ourselves would be incomplete. That's why we do the envelopment to maintain our composure. And our composure, I guess both in the sense of like being in this different environment, but also our composure and like our composition, our makeup. So we still have the same quantity of yin and yang. It just may take on a different quality because of how it is distributed. So again, to see like Archangel Uriel 7th chakra with the yin and yang, I'm like, yeah, that's the providence. That is, it is what it is. That's how we go into the void and not get lost in the darkness or not be changed by it. Cool. And there is almost, take it as it resonates, if it resonates, when it resonates, as it resonates. This is an ICC, Iced Coffee Chronicles. I didn't say it at the top, but you know, we got the coffee, so. And in essence, in nature, ice, supposedly in essence, supposedly in nature, ICCs are these ventures into the void. Um, so again, I'm not surprised. There are things that aren't for us of material substance. There are things that there are things that are unformed, but to the subtle substance of the realm of possibilities, they are very much so formed. They just haven't necessarily transited into reality, that threshold. Um, but it's this maturing. So, as consciousness is maturing, there is this self that is being assembled, right? So, the awareness and the courage leads to the completion. The courage is like that's our side. It feels like this final, you can see the final piece is like there's a hand there that's not this being's hand. Now, there are many ways that this hand can be interpreted. There are finishing touches that we put on our whatever. This feels like it's a piece that the divine, in some way, it's like the divine does something that seals the deal, that brings this completion to an autonomous state. Like that, I guess that's the way to put it. Um, like the avatar we saw in the booster pack yesterday, where you have to like wait 5 turns for that avatar to become a creature. It's like a blessing from the divine that cosigns, that authorizes this new complete self to do things, to move, and not just be like this powered down whatever self that sits in the void. It won't move. This is how it's coming out. Take it if it resonates. Don't take it if it doesn't. or as it resonates. If it resonates for you differently, then take it as it resonates for you. But it feels like without this seal of approval, that self doesn't move. It's basically inert. But with that sign, or with that sort of stamp seal of approval, that's what allows us to rebirth into this higher completed self. And you can see every time this thing is reborn, it is reborn higher and higher, going back to the bodhisattvas and Elisha, Enoch that ascended while they were still alive. Some of them while they were alive, some of them after they passed, and are granted sainthood. Again, there's no guidance in this space. It's pure adventuring. It's like you can't tell someone how to be divine, or you can't instruct someone in the ways of divinity because that divinity is their own. You know what I mean? No, it's not to say that there aren't hierophants that have the ability to expand their divine domain through the consciousnesses that they bring under that presence or umbrella. But for yourself, like no one can tell you how to be you. That's just something that you have to figure out as you live life. But this courage, again, we have the courage that blooms in this rock face, just like this awareness that brings tranquility in the face of panic or fear or whatever. It's this. And it's almost like that's almost like maybe the aptitude. I don't know. Anyway, some of this stuff I just read it. Okay. How does some of this apply? I don't know. Get to North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo, and find out. So I will read the tales of the magician and the poet. The poet's tale. Sometimes when she wasn't looking, the flowers would escape from the vase. Oh my gosh. What the flowers escaping? Cool. Love it. Sometimes when she wasn't looking, the flowers would escape from the vase, from the vase. She tried to draw them back in, but they seemed to have a mind of their own. Small colored abstractions arranged and rearranged themselves across the page. Even though she'd been the one to choose their hues and shades, she had little to say in their formations and compositions. Often they danced all day, picking partners here and there, gyrating and bumping wildly off the paper's borders. Occasionally, however, they'd stand still, as if refusing to listen to the music of the spheres that guided them hither and thither. Refusing to listen to the music of the spheres that guided them, choosing their own adventure. Again, there are certain spaces that we cannot be guided to, or when it comes to certain truths, especially truths of the self, truths of the soul, truths of the heart. The truth is something that can emerge from circumstance, but it isn't anything that can be coached or guided by another. Not in a way that is so intimately needed, because then it becomes tainted by the truth of the one that's doing the guiding. Or it's seen from the perspective of the one that's doing the guiding, and that hue could cause certain things to vanish under that discoloring. It's almost like if there is a yellow, like there are yellows within someone's composition, and someone else brings their light, and because they're bringing their light into a foreign space, it's like white. So it's all of the different nuances of their truth kind of sort of like blanched out, and it's this. Now, the white, it's almost like the white can wash out the yellows in someone else's composition to make their yellows look white. And so for that person to rely solely on the sight of the other, they would never see those yellows that are within their composition. Their colors that were either blanched out or lightened or darkened by someone else. The magician's tale. The magus watches intently as the impish boy inchworms his way through the carpets, warped and weft. An imp meticulously conjured from dust and indigo, he scales the intricate threads, straining to find a pathway that leads beyond the carpet's perimeter. And for the 100th time, the open fringe absorbs the child back into the heart of the carpet's mesh. One day the magus will release the urchin into the world, but for now he is content to study his protege's elliptical passage through time and space, plotting ways in which he might utilize the breaking of infinity's hold over existence. So again, elliptical passage through time and space plays on that music of the spheres. It gives a very planetary astrological tone to this. So did someone ask for purple? I don't know. Maybe someone did. I got some purple. I got this purple phone case. I always get like black. I was like, I want a little color. So I got the purple one. Cool. Let's get final cards. It still ended up being an hour, but it's fine. Again, don't ask me what these things mean because I don't know. Ask your trusted source. Ooh. Ask your trusted source. It's interesting that Pachamama was silent. Or she was that, like, the red. See, it feels like. I'll just leave it there. Sometimes it's important that we form our own conclusions. I got more cards now. I don't know. There's something interesting going on with the void. And again, that almost borders on the ether. That is a more raw, more primal energy source than the mana that we're used to. But some of these things have minds and consciousnesses of their own. It's almost like the brooms in Harry Potter. Okay, I'm thinking of a different show. I'm thinking of a different show. But it's like the brooms in Harry Potter, how they have temperaments. I think it's in it may not be in Harry Potter because, like I said, I'm thinking of a different show. The brooms had their own temperaments, and there was one broom that was like real fast, but no one could ride it because it was just too. It had a mind of its own. And so that's another thing too, you know, especially when you go into the void, when you go into the formless or play in realms of that which is yet to be, especially those things that are ripe with potential. Sometimes it will span the gamut of what it could actualize as. And then you almost get into chariot energy where it's not about necessarily control, but it is about the exertion of will. And I'm sure there's some subtle difference there. But under a strong will, that the thing itself can be stabilized, where it doesn't fluctuate between all of these different potentialities and possibilities of what it could be. It's what you are working together with it for it to be. Don't get lost out there. I'm better. Why? No. I don't know. I just got the wiggles. I wonder if that's why my grandpa calls me Mr. Wiggles, because sometimes you just da, 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 da. You get a little song and you just want to wiggle. Oh gosh, it's fine. We're just moving energy. That's what we're doing. We're moving energy. All right. Final card from the. We'll get a final number. We're gonna cheat. I think. Were you? Okay, thank you. At least I'm not alone. Hey Google. No, not you because you're on whatever. Hey Bixby. Choose a random number between 1 and 64.
21.
Oh, Bixby talks. 21. Didn't we see 21? It was 21 and 41, I think we saw in whatever deck. 21 is the Gatherer. Interesting. The Gatherer, also the Accumulator. Again, it's like it's the Gatherer that knows what they need, to accumulate for the poet to do its creative thing and do whatever. So, also, it's like the temperature drop has been a little quick, but it is appreciated over here. So, I don't think I'm going to read this. Well, maybe this. Do not wander too far afield in search of what spirit has already provided. Practice paying it forward, being thankful in advance of receiving. If you are in a scarcity mindset, open your heart to look beyond current conditions and you will find the bounty being. I mean, yeah, but not, maybe somebody that would be. I'll just read it. Maybe someone needs to hear it. The gatherer. Before we cultivated grains, we collected the wild bounty of nature. The gatherer finds abundant seeds, nuts, berries, and wild grains where the ordinary person sees only barren soil. The gatherer is the provider, the forager, and the gardener who collects roots and vegetables for the long winter when game is scarce. She does not hoard, trusting the bounty around her. Look at the resources you already have close at hand. This is a time of abundance. Oh, abundance did come out. Everything around you is ripe. Oh, ripeness did come out at the bottom of the Oshos and Tarot. Okay, maybe I was a little hasty. This is a time of abundance. Everything around you is ripe and ready for harvest. Banish the notions of scarcity that have limited your choices and colored your destiny. Pack your food for the winter and start with the low-hanging fruit that is all around you. The medicine. Do not wander too far afield and search for what Spirit has already provided. Practice paying it forward, being thankful in advance of receiving. If you are in a scarcity mindset, open your heart to look beyond current conditions and you will find the bounty being offered to you. Practice sharing, not hoarding. Oof, I'm gonna have to go to the restroom. Like I said, I am overly hydrated. The metamorph is at the bottom. I am gonna hit that bathroom real quick because when you hear the call, you best take it. All right, I am back. Cool. I'm like sipping on this melted ice, ain't doing it. My water thing. Oh, it's right here. I got a little bit, not much. This is also why I've been so like hydrated. I'm like going to the bathroom so much, but I've been thirsty. I don't even know if I'm thirsty. Is like I just need to be hydrated. 11211. Um, but man, I don't like every hour and a half to 2 hours. It's anyway. Oh well, I appreciate it. So let's see. All right, final Archeo. Ooh, ooh, making some noise, but I need a clean flip or a clean. Oh, that was the strangest flip ever, but it was so smooth. It was like it flipped in slow motion. It was so graceful I couldn't call it dirty. Where's this card? I'm like, oh, it was such a smooth flip, such a smooth flip. There we go. I almost didn't see it in the deck. Oh, I picked up the whole deck in reverse. The hypocrite, the hypocrisy in reverse. The card at the bottom of the deck is the Illuminator. The Illuminator and the Hypocrite. Now, of course, they were both in reverse because I picked the whole deck up in reverse. This is interesting. I think just in general, especially, hey, Quivanche, especially when it comes to guidance, maybe. Because maybe it's more so the guidance that went around this clearing in the forest, or the guidance that leads everyone out of the forest, that may be hypocritical. Where it's like, if you're supposed to be a guide or my guide, then why don't you guide me where I want to go? Is that a stretch? Is it a reach? Yes and no. A guide can only guide in the direction or in the ways that it was intended to or created to guide. If someone is your guide in financial matters because you respect their financial acumen, they may not necessarily be the person to go to for like relationships because they're not positioned to guide that sector of your life. They're not positioned to necessarily help in those ways. It doesn't mean that they can't offer advice or whatever, but like that's not their job. And so it's like it's something that's seen as a hypocrite or hypocritical energy, even though it isn't. Because again, it feels like it's an overextension of one's station or of one's duties, of one's obligations. The hypocrite, whilst professing holiness and transparency, cynically connives and manipulates. Why, then, would we want to have anything to do with such a person? The answer is we all tend to want more from others than we demand from ourselves, which by definition means we are duplicitous. The hypocrite's presence reminds us that what we need to keep our two-faced tendencies. The hypocrite's presence reminds us that we need to keep our two-faced tendencies in check. So again, just like, are we asking for more from someone or something than they are to give? And it doesn't mean that like they shouldn't give their advice or 2 cents or whatever. But again, like if that's not what they've been hired for, if that's not their area of expertise, you know, then we may want to consult a professional. Oh, wow. Okay. It's like the binding on the book is coming loose. Hello? It's like I got cold and my glue just came undone. Excuse me? I feel like that's it. Occasionally, he will seem to use his power for the good of others, but only if it advances his nefarious plans. He's ruthless, and it would be advisable to avoid openly crossing him. Am I the hypocrite? I'm kidding. I mean, maybe some people see me as a hypocrite. I say that I embrace complexity, polarity, paradox, duality. There's so much in life that is situational. And it's not always to our benefit to get what we want when we want it. But also with the hypocrite in reverse, almost along the lines of keep us keeping our own two-faced tendencies in check. It's this like it's almost maybe a natural point of maturation when we begin to question things or ask for things beyond someone else's capacity to assist, aid, or answer. Y'all hear that? That bird? Um, it's like it's the point where we need a new teacher, a new mentor, or a new guide. The questions that we're asking are starting to go like too deep or too wide. They're too broad. Again, not under the area of expertise of who we view as a hypocrite. But that's just as like again, it's illuminating to us that it is time for us to take our learning to the next level. That's how we know when we've reached that point. And we don't have to necessarily look at anyone's or gauge anyone as like incapable of whatever or whatever or whatever. It's just time for a different teacher or a time for a new way of learning. The source at the bottom of the deck. Wow. The source and projection. Projection at the cut with the source. It's almost like a game of mirrors. We go from mirror to mirror to mirror to mirror to mirror as we are ascending or going along our journey and way or wherever we're going, however we're getting there. But it reaches a point where it's like two pairs of footsteps in the sand. It's you and Jesus. There is no man, regardless of how highly attuned or how deeply they can connect. There comes a point on our journey inward that no man can help us with, can guide us through at the very least. And that's where the silence is filled. The silence with aloneness versus all oneness. That's when we transit aloneness to all oneness, where we start to hear what we didn't in that silence before. Projection and participation. Or not. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, when it resonates. And if it don't resonate, don't take it. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Okay. Final card from the Osho Zen Tarot. From the Osho Zen Tarot. From the Osho Zen Tarot. That was so dirty, I didn't even see the card. Ooh. Clean flips and clean falls, please. It's not enough to just make noise. You must show thine face if you want to be read, because if you don't show your face. I was just thinking about this card. Interesting. The card that came out is completion. I was just thinking about this card because of what it came out representing here. The seal of approval, the stamp of the divine that's saying, like, yes, I will, whatever. And it allows us to operate these higher selves, or an embodiment, a blending of consciousnesses, whatever. But the bottom of the deck is the miser. And then under the miser is postponement. And under postponement is isolation. So this is almost like in a pantheon, um, where there exists multiple faces of divine energy, multiple gods, goddesses, or where there's a god that is multifaceted. It's almost like there's an aspect, or there's a god, goddess of the divine that has not endorsed or blessed anyone or anything in a very long time. That's this miser, postponement, and isolation. But it's again like in the movie, the video game, the anime, the story. Someone gets the blessing. It's like yeah, there's like a book I'm reading. I've read. I'm not reading it anymore. It's a few of them. It's like, well, this goddess never is involved or gives her blessing or whatever. But all of a sudden, the miser on the outside that's been deep in isolation, postponing what are they waiting for? It's so bad. Now, for some reason or another, they choose to participate. And so maybe it becomes this like, oh, well, what is it about whoever that makes them so special? Or what is it about these times that make these times especially deserving of someone's participation, even though they haven't been here like before? Patrick ain't the one to answer. No, that's just how that's the story that's unraveling. Unwinding coming through. It's like, well, you said you would never interfere in the affairs of humankind, yet here you are. Maybe that's the villain, the one that knows of the inaction of this one. That's like, oh yeah, we can do whatever because they're never going to get involved. And then they show up and they're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? Almost like the Anubis that shows up when we thought Ma'at was going to be the ones behind the scales of Anubis. That's like when the CEO shows up. Again, it's very much so along those lines of when the CEO shows up and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so like honored and flattered. I don't know why you would grace me with your presence yourself, but I am deeply flattered. So, and then I'm sure that energy would be like, don't be flattered. I wouldn't be here if it weren't warranted. So, take it as a sign of your hard work being recognized or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Me no no. All right. Energy Oracle cards. Final card. Please. Clean flips and clean falls. Just noise is not enough. The Temple Path. The Temple Path, I feel like it mentions all of these spirits that are gathered around the spirits of ancestors or whoever that are like excited to watch or whatever. Journey is the card at the bottom of the deck. At the cut, we'll just like slide these down. Second chakra, Archangel Ariel. 36, 12. 12 goes into 36 three times. 3, 6, 9, 1, 2, 3, 2. Something in the sacral. They say the Kundalini rises from the sacral. Oh, that's beyond the scope of this. And then the goddess of the moon. Sacral chakra, goddess of the moon, the journey, the temple path. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it don't resonate, don't take it. Cool. Well, thank you, Queen Banshay and Holly and Kirsty for stopping by. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and what you find. And until next time, this has been your Iced Coffee Chronicles with me, Patrick, from the space of Rio Koruk. I don't know how to pronounce it any more than anyone else knows. But yeah, I'll catch y'all next time. And bye, 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 bye. See you next time.